Today's video is slightly different from my other usual videos. We aren't going to talk about index investing, asset allocation, or other exciting money topics we normally talk about. We're going to talk about something even more exciting, about investments that will have greater returns than money and have an everlasting impact in our lives. Hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. The first investment that will have a lifetime of returns is investment in our health. And when I talk about health, I want to talk about both physical and mental health. More than anything else that we have, our health forms the framework that we build our life on. There is no financial well-being without mental and physical health. If we don't have our health, it doesn't matter if we have all the money in the world. They wouldn't mean a thing because we wouldn't be able to enjoy them. And even from a wealth building perspective, not investing in our health will hamper our ability to work effectively, to earn more, and cost us more in healthcare costs in the long run. So how do we effectively invest in our health? Let me start out with our mental health first. The number one thing we can do for our mental health is to take the time and energy for our bodies and minds to effectively recover. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information and notifications. We're always on, and this has real consequences on our mental health. Having graduated from business school over 10 years ago, where intensity was the norm, I lived this life of being on for many, many years. I thought working late at night and weekends, minimizing family time was the right way to live. Resting was for losers, and I wanted to be a winner. However, it can and will have detrimental mental health consequences if we don't give ourselves time to recover. This is why it's so important to have some time every day where we disconnect from technology, where we aren't checking our email or scrolling through social media. Just some time for our minds to recover and relax. This can be in form of reading, going for a walk, meditating, or any activity that you enjoy that doesn't involve technology. And also, if you're really struggling in this category, don't be afraid to ask for help from family, friends, or mental health professionals. Counseling is not only common, but can be very helpful, especially helping to quiet those internal voices that can wreak havoc in our minds. Activities for our physical health are a bit more obvious, but just as important. Not only does it improve our quality of life, but the emotional benefits are also enduring. We can all attest to how much we feel better after a great workout, both physically and emotionally. A simple rule of thumb I like to use are these. Get at least 30 minutes of physical activity per day. I like strength training, but any activity is good, as long as you fulfill your physical activity needs without it being something that you dread. Minimize processed food from our diet. If it didn't grow from a tree or came from an animal in that form, I try not to eat it. Of course, this isn't always the case 100% of the time. I try to follow the 80-20 rule. As long as I can get 80% of my diet from healthy whole foods, I feel like I'm winning. The last tip to maintaining our physical health is something that we often overlook, and that is sleep. It is so easy to push our sleep time to later and later at night, and Netflix doesn't help in this regard. Therefore, I force myself to be in bed by at least 10 p.m. every night, weekdays and weekends. A trick that has really helped me is to have no electronic device like my iPad or my iPhone in my bedroom if I could help it. Instead, I have an analog alarm clock and my Kindle e-reader on my bedstand. There is nothing like a good book to help you fall asleep, and a good old alarm clock has nothing on it to distract you from falling asleep. The second investment that will have a lifetime of returns is investment in education. We live in a world where there are so many different ways to educate ourselves outside the traditional method. There is no shortage of great online blogs, online courses, and you can literally find anything on YouTube these days. Hey, you found me, right? And you can still borrow tons of books from the local library for free. The world is full of teachers, great and small, and with the advent of the internet, you can access any of them anytime throughout the day. Education is a forever giving investment because when all other resources are exhausted, your education and the knowledge you gain from it will help you get a new job, make a living, and build great things that people will want to buy. Don't be stingy with self-improvement. Don't be afraid to pay for it. Of course, be smart about who you pay, but in the long run, the money you spend on education will compound in the form of knowledge and skills you can use for the rest of your lives. For me, though I may not replace my socks with holes for many years, I will gladly pay for a good book I can glean some nuggets from. Just ask my wife. When she sees me walking around with holes in my socks, she nags me constantly about why I don't just spend the $20 to buy a pair of new ones. For me, that $20 is better spent on a good book than socks without holes. Socks are overrated anyways. Another way to invest in our education is to be open to new experiences. If we aren't willing to explore new ideas and new interests by placing ourselves in activities that feel foreign and uncomfortable, we limit our ability to grow. Most often, we'll be pleasantly surprised by the new people we'll meet and new perspectives that we'll gain when we have the courage to step out of our comfort zone. Recently, I just came back from a money conference called FinCon, which was hosted in Orlando, Florida this year. The ultimate conference for money nerds. Though I didn't know many people there and it was across the country from where I live, I gladly flew over there. I did this because I knew it would take me out of my comfort zone and stretch me in ways that would only benefit me in the long run. The third investment that will have a lifetime of returns is an investment in our family, especially our spouse and our kids. And the best way is with time and love. I make it a priority in my calendar to have quality time with my wife every week. Even if it's only an hour walk around the neighborhood or a lunch out at our favorite restaurant, we block out dedicated time for each other. And this intentional time has become more and more important as kids have grown and require more attention. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and week-to-week of life and let time slip away from us. But if we don't make an effort to invest in our relationships, they will slowly erode over time. It's important to have regular conversations with our spouse about our relationships, about our goals, and about our dreams. When it comes to our kids, I try to approach it the same way. And trust me, I make more mistakes than I can count. Yelling at them unnecessarily, feeding them junk food, displacing my own insecurities on them. But I'm hoping I can at least be a better parent today than I was yesterday. Some of the things I try to prioritize are to read stories together before bedtime, play soccer at the local park, or just spend some level of focused time with them without any distractions. I'm hoping that these activities will become building blocks of their adulthood and happiness. If I can lead them with some effort regardless of how flawed I am, I'm hoping I can leave them with a decent example of what living can look like. And of course, given I run a personal finance YouTube channel, I can't exclude money from my lessons. I try to teach them about finances so they can understand what money can and can't do for them in pursuit of their life goals. Life is always about choices, and your money reflects what your priorities are. Do you want a Nintendo Switch or a birthday party? You can't have both, but you can choose one. The investment of time in our family is an investment that will have returns for the rest of our lives. The number 4 investment that will have a lifetime returns is investment in relationships. Bronnie Ware worked in palliative care for many years and wrote a book titled The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. She listed out the most common regrets expressed to her by the people she cared for. One of the most common statements she heard was, "I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends." She saw many people not truly realize the full benefit of old friends until their dying weeks, and it was not always possible to track them down. For her, it was a common sight. Everyone missed their friends when they were dying. It's easy to get caught up with our lives and allow friendships to slip over the years. And most often, the quality of our lives is reflected by the number of quality relationships we have in our lives. Therefore, if we invest in people, the compound interest will multiply into a lifetime of love and happiness. Long after we're gone, our presence will still survive in the memories of those who shared in our lives. So make sure to keep in touch with your friends, reach out to them, and let them know that you care. Make intentional time on our calendars to catch up with valued friends and invest in relationships. Number 5 investment that will have a lifetime of returns is investment in ourselves. And this one is the hardest one to do for many of us because it feels so abstract. We understand what investing in health and education looks like. It's working out and reading. However, how do we invest in ourselves? I believe this is one of the most important investments to make if we want to have long and happy lives. Let me share with you a few from my own personal experience. Personal investment comes in many forms, but one of the most overlooked one is self-forgiveness. It's easy to constantly look over our shoulders the path we've come and regret the decisions we've made. Only if I had taken that job. Only if I had saved more money. Only if I was more gentle with my kids. Our capacity to blame ourselves and regret our past decisions is unlimited. We can spend literally all our lives feeling bad about the things we wish we had done or things we wish we didn't do. While some reflection is good, too much of it will consume our ability to move forward. It's impossible to move forward or even look forward when we're constantly looking at the rearview mirror. We must learn to forgive ourselves for our past mistakes, see the silver lining, and move forward. I often struggle with this when it comes to my past money mistakes. I spent most of my 20s making all the dumb money mistakes you could think of. Maxed out my credit cards for unnecessary toys? Done that. Buy a new car with outrageous financing terms? Been there. Got close to 6-figure student loans without even realizing it? Have the t-shirt. And I used to agonize too much over the mistakes I made instead of forgiving myself and moving forward. I'm sure many of you have something similar as well. Action taken too hastily or action not taken. Object bought on the spur or maybe not buying it when you needed to. The list of things that we can regret over will never end. Let's learn to forgive ourselves for our past mistakes and strive towards the future. We can learn from all our experiences, whether good or bad, and we have the choice to allow it to make us better for it. Another of my favorite ways to invest in ourselves is to slow down. Many of us are driven individuals, and often we have big audacious goals we want to achieve immediately. However, if my favorite fable, the story of the tortoise and the hare, can continuously teach us anything, slow incremental gains are what will help us win the race in the long run. Slow and steady wins the race. Focus on making progress, not speed. If we're 1% better this month than the last, this will compound over time. We'll be astonished by the progress we've made years from now. Thank you guys for watching. I know we didn't talk much about money on this video, but I'm hoping these 5 investments will be a great addition to your life portfolio. If you'd like to learn more about the slow and steady approach to life, especially when it comes to your finances, check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.